This is Portside Perspectives, exploring the yacht economy.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Portside Perspectives. I'm here today with Jarkko Jämsén of Finland. He is a yacht designer and naval architect, and the founding partner of Aivan. Aivan,
Yes,
can you?
Aivan.
We were talking about this. I'll let you kind of explain it and pronounce it and go into Navia design and all of that. So can you run through that again real quick for everybody?
Absolutely, and nice to be here, Jason. Thank you for taking this time. So my Finnish company is called Aivan, and Aivan means indeed in Finnish. And this is and Navia is our boat design department inside of our Aivan company, and it's called Navia, so it's Aivan backwards. And then I have a company here in Monaco, Monte Carlo, and what is with my last name Jämsén, and that's for full custom superyachts. And Aivan, the mother company, is basically, I would say, industrial design office. So we do from branding to products to different kind of services and so forth. Creative office.
Oh, okay. Well, before we get too deep into the companies that you're part of, first of all, I like to ask everybody, what's your background? Where do you come from? How did you get into doing this? Like, what's your story? What's your origin story, Jarkko?
Okay, so everybody, we can make a story of how things actually went and how it goes in a paper. So if you see in a paper, so it's I'm a wooden boat builder, I'm a naval architect, I'm an industrial designer. I've studied a little bit yacht design in Italy, and basically I've been working in the boats and marine industry for all of my life, adult life. Before that, I was ice hockey player, but that's a different story. And but then, of course, luck has multiple things involved in here where I'm now. But then, as a small kid, my grandpa used to have a cabin in the island, and we went there with self-made boats. So we had wooden boats what we fixed and repaired and did. So I think that has been my main reason why I'm in the boating, why I'm in the boats. So in a small island in the middle of Finland, in the lakeside of Finland, I've been growing up, and that's the reason.
Right. Okay. Cool. So then please tell everybody a little bit more about what you do. You obviously, as you mentioned at the beginning, have three different companies, but the main one being Aivan. I'm still trying to struggle to pronounce
Aivan
that
is
properly.
perfect. That's perfect.
And so, so basically, you're a yacht designer, and you do a lot more than that. But let's start with that.
So if we start with the superyacht side, so yes, we do full custom superyachts, so big ones, so motor and sailing boats. Currently, one of those is just crossing the Atlantic in the ROC, the Atlantic Cross Atlantic Race. So they are doing that now. We do motor yachts. The last one what was launched, it's about 100-meter fed ship named Pi. We are working with about 5 different boats currently, or super yachts, ranging from 50 meters to the biggest one I can't really, let's say above 150 meters.
Oh, okay. And so you've got multiple projects on the go right now, then, is that what you're saying?
Yes, so basically we can easily say that we are fully booked for near future. So
okay. Okay. And so you obviously you are contracted out by either the owner and to do a custom yachts. And so I believe maybe you can clarify this. You work with various different builders, though. Is that correct?
correct. So basically what happens is that when we get a client comes to us and let's say he wants to do a 60-meter motor yacht. And then quite often it starts that we discuss with the owner, okay, what he wants to get from the boat. he or she, and then we do the design. So basically, exterior design, block layout, short specification. We might already have people from the owner side for the more as a project manager side or owner's rep. But anyways, with that team, we create an specification bid package, and that bid package is sent to the yachts for tendering process. So, and after the tender process, we get quotations back, so the bids back from them. So then we know the cost of different things. So, and with the owner, we discuss that, okay, do we want to build it in Northern Europe, Italy, Turkey? What are the reasons why we are going? So after that, we send the tenders, we get the tenders back, so the bid package back, and then we compare and we make the decision that, okay, let's work with these guys.
Right, and that's so it works probably like any other tender situation or bid situation where you know, like a normal construction of anything, I suppose, that goes out for tender. And you base it not just on price alone, but there's a lot of other things that come into play.
And yeah, exactly. And there's a multiple reasons. There might be the location or the brand value of the company. It might be because of the personal connection with some people, or it might be that's the easy logistics, or so. And then other thing is, of course, even we send the tender package, it's quite difficult to compare apples to apples when we get the tenders back, the bids back. So it's still there's a variables what you try to do. So it's and then of course when we get the bid to us, it's quite difficult to say that can we actually build it in that cost. So then it's a trust issue as well. Like, okay,
it sounds it sounds fairly complex, actually, maybe a little bit more so than your average construction project on a building or something like that, because you are dealing with brands, right? I mean, you do have a brand names that are recognizable. You have, again, personal relationships that you got to consider, location, quality of builder. I mean, I'm sure that comes into play as too, right?
Yeah, absolutely. But it's quite many of those things are not so easy to see. So basically, because inside of, let's say that let's say we go with the best yard. The best yard is the physical place, but then you have to have also the best people inside of that company, because they do multiple projects. You will get a certain set of people. I'm not saying it's the good or bad, but that's the reality of life, that you can't control all the things, but you will get a certain set, and you have to make the best out of that set what you have.
Yeah. So here's a question then. Do you ever have branded name companies come to you and ask you to design yachts for the brand? Or like, I know we talked about you have owners, right, who are a individual who wants a yacht. They're going to go through you to get the design. You then put it out to tender and find a yard and builders to build it. But what I'm asking is, do you actually have name brands come to you to design their yachts for them as well?
Yes, but I don't do those.
You don't do those.
Yeah, exactly. For me, myself in my company, we don't do designs for the yachts.
So everything you do is fully custom.
Yes, if you do full customs, it's for the if it's a one-off. If we talk about one-off projects, full custom, then we only work with the owners.
Okay, so here's a question then. Are there any designs that you've made that have been built more than once? Do you have like sister ships out there, or copies of each other, so there's multiple vessels of that one design?
So basically, when I do a full custom, I give the IP rights for the client. So that's the difference. So out of respect, I give the rights for that for owner. So in the same time, I say that I'm not going to make a copy of that. But basically, it's IP rights are so odd that it has to be exact copy of something. If you are saying that you are basically making a similar product. So basically, quite many times, those ideas or concepts or the vessel, somebody is going to make a quite similar vessel. Only thing what I promise to my client that it's not going to be me.
Okay.
So
I get it.
so I can
Okay.
control that if somebody builds a copy or quite similar vessel, but it's not going to be happening by me.
Right. So somebody originally contracts you to design and be a part of the build, and
Yeah.
then they end up owning the rights to that design and everything. They basically have paid you for the design, so they own it. If they chose to go out and build another vessel with that same design, that's fine. They own it, but
Yeah,
you're
but
not going to be the one
it
doing
would be yeah, I think if you do one, quite often the copies are done by others, not from the owner side. It's just somebody gets influence for with that design, they like it, so they get a quite big part of that.
it. Right.
And but I have done like a 77-meter and 100-meter fed ships named Pi, the same what actually I have today in my hat. So those are quite similar vessels because it was for the same owner. So that's why they look quite similar, because it's done for the same family, and that's why they look quite similar. But
Right. Okay.
I wouldn't do that boat again for somebody else, even I have been asked many, many times.
Yeah.
So
So you keep your designs pretty much unique. Like most of the, if not all of
yes,
the vessels that you've designed or been a part of building, they are all
no,
for the most part, pretty unique then. They're
but
all
they are
their own
unique.
vessels.
They should be as unique as they can be in a practical sense, because we try to do the things what that one client has. But then if we talk about smaller boats, we do them alone. So if we talk boats between, let's say, 6 meters to 24 meters, those we do a lot. I think they produce maybe 3,000 boats a year, what we have designed, and for multiple different brands. And of course, in those, the brand owns everything, and we give the things for the brand. So when we do design, we give the IPs for those brands, and they keep doing those. And we are basically a white label company behind those companies. That
Right.
we don't do all basically. Oh, in practice, we don't do any marketing. So we don't do any
Okay.
marketing or anything. We are just like a hidden entity.
So seeing as how you brought it up, then how is it that people find you if you don't really do any marketing? I mean, is it just because you have a reputation in the industry and people know who you are just from the work that you've done? Is that pretty much it?
Yeah, it pretty much like that. Some people know me, and some of clients, they know me. I don't know exactly how they get to know me, and this is the mystery of life. It's the lucky happy go lucky kind of thing. But of course, the product what we design, that's the biggest advertisement of us,
I
because
guess it is.
they are floating there and they are seen with multiple people. So somebody will ask that, hey, I like that boat, who has been doing that? They will find out. So it's the
Right.
same for the small boats, it's the same for the bigger boats. I don't know how well I'm known, and I don't think that's really interesting. I'm interested of making boats and stuff like that. So the my own how well I'm known or how I do that, I'm not that interested. But luckily we have a quite big team, because we have a little bit over 100 people, designers in the office, and we have 20 nationalities working in the office. And so of course also those employees have to know us, because we need constantly more employees. And so the talented people, they find us somehow. Of course we do, and we publish those things, but most of the time they are by friends or
Right.
link or something like that.
Just through internal connections and people's networking and that sort of thing. And so you mentioned you have over 100 employees. What type of people do you actually employ within this firm? I assume you have some other naval architects and
Yeah,
designers, but there's probably other people too.
yeah, we have 10 naval architects in the office. lot of industrial designers from the different perspective. I mean, more from the automotive side, then the classical industrial designers, engineers.
Okay, I just want to pause you for just a second. You say you have a lot of designers that are from the automotive side of things. Can you kind of explain that a little bit?
Yeah, so stylist people. So I like designers, we have a different kind of skill sets, and quite often the highly skilled stylists are in the automotive side.
Okay. I guess that kind of makes sense in that the design end of cars, you want, people want them to look sleek, they want them to look good, and that's kind of where you're bringing in that artistic
Yeah, exactly.
background from there. Okay, so sorry to sidetrack you then.
No,
So
no,
again,
no. So, but when we have a different kind of talents, quite often they work with the same project, and that is how so basically, quite often we think that it's some kind of a magic individual who makes the things nice. That's this kind of story what we want to tell. But in reality, it's multiple people working together, from engineering to styling to design to engineering to put packages, interior, exterior. So actually, when we do things, it's done with the multiple people internally, and of course then we use outside people as well, because you work with somebody. It might be owner in a bigger boat or the brand in a smaller boat, and there's a skilled people in that side as well, and that collaboration is happening, and then the builders and everything. So there's dealers and all of so it would be wrong to say that it's like some kind of unicorn that makes the things, but it's what we have done. We have built like an office that have different skill sets. We do the things, and we build full-size mock-ups, wooden mock-ups, when we test the ergonomy of the boats, and we can link the virtual reality on top of that, where we can check how it look in that time. So we use the old techniques and new techniques, and we cross them, and
yeah, and we were talking the other day when we were setting up this podcast meeting and recording, and you were mentioning about the mock-ups, and it was actually pretty impressive to me. You were saying like you do full-size mock-ups of some pretty large mock-ups.
Yeah, we did like a 210 feet, so 70 meter inside outside mock-up of one schooner, what we are designing now, and it takes like 3 months to build it up. And then
this is just the mock-up. This isn't even the real vessel.
That's a mock-up. Yeah, but it's like if you think it's like a 70 meter long and 10 meters wide, 3-story high thing to what you make from plywood, it's a big exercise already as how to get the skilled people to design it and build it and make it happen.
So I understand why you do it, but for everybody else who might not understand, can you explain why you would go to those lengths to do a mock-up before you actually start, working on the actual vessel itself?
Absolutely. So when we see let's say layout, drawing of 2D drawing of something, layout of that, and then we might have 3D renderings, even animation. Next step would be to put it in a virtual reality. So all of those things are trying to communicate the things how they are. But the problem is that all of those tools doesn't actually give you the sensation of space, or you can't move, or you can't bring group of people in the same time in there. So basically, when we build a mock-up, we bring all the people in the same level. Everybody understand automatically how the spaces are, how it is, how the layout is, how the flow in the boat is. So it's just a much more easier way to bring everybody in the same page before we start.
And it gives you a chance to bring the concept into reality, in 3-dimensional reality, not just some virtual 3D imaging on a computer or virtual reality. You're in 3D actual reality. You can actually feel it, get a sense of the space, like you were saying. And
we can have a dinner in there. We can already test different scenarios in there. We can play the game, so to speak. I think the interesting point is that we do that as early as possible, that we encourage to make the changes. So the point of mockup is not to be a tool that we say that it's good. We are trying to make the mockup so it will tells you all the possibilities, how you can make it better. So that should be done so early that you don't have because if you do it quite late in a project, then you don't want to make changes because you know that you have to make changes, all the engineering, everything. So what we try to do, we try to do super early, that basically we emphasize the ideas that let's try to make it better. And this is because if you do any changes after build, the one small change in the final product will be much more expensive than the full mock-up has been.
Right. Does it also help when it comes to construction and certain aspects of the construction where, you know, you can foresee certain challenges, I guess, when putting everything together and actually building it? Does it help with that or not so much?
Well, it helps at least in a way. Again, the same thing. We have a lot of engineers or the from the yacht side coming to see the mock-up, and they will see things, and then they can talk about ideas, solutions. So it's always much more easier to talk on top of the real thing, and you somehow see the things because the reality, even it's not done exactly how it's going to be built, but you see already the problems much more easier. That hey, this might be a problem or this might be a challenge. It's a quite different the understanding what you get looking, drawing, or walking inside of something.
Yeah. So I spoke with another yacht designer, a young lady, not too long ago. She mainly focuses on smaller vessels, like more of like a smaller pleasure craft. She's done a couple of small yachts, but her scenario is much different than yours because you are working on some larger boats like super yachts and things like that. I'm sure it completely changes the game when you're designing and thinking about all the various different aspects that go into, like we were talking about with the mock-up, the space utilization and how to integrate all of the technologies that are out there now again and now today and then still make it look pretty and make it look beautiful. And I can only imagine on something that large, all of the different tiny, just the tiny little minutia that goes into uh, everything
Yeah,
from bow to stern on that vessel. It's a little bit mind blowing to me actually because you know I do have a background in construction and I can understand how much goes into this, you know,
absolutely.
and so much more that people don't even see that's tucked in behind, like all of the electronics and all of the functional parts of the vessel. It's not just how pretty it is, but it needs to, I mean, it needs to function and work well and all of that.
Exactly. No, and like for me, that's the beauty in a yachts, super yachts, is that they are so complex that you have all the things what you have to consider and also the building techniques, and you have to try to understand what is possible in the world. Like if you want to do a, let's say, glass panel, what kind of factories we have, what are the limitations, what we can actually do. So you have to get some kind of sense what is possible or not. So that's our role as a designer, to try to be in part of understanding what is possible to do. But when you mentioned the smaller size, we do every year, I would say about 10 to 15 mock-ups in say size of 10 meters, because we do a lot of small boats. So currently in our office we have 3 10-meter mock-ups in the office what we are now checking, and one
Right.
15 meter, and the 70 meter was just breakdown, so we scrap it.
And so, all the smaller vessels you do, I assume, are all custom as well. Like you're,
Oh,
again,
no, no, no,
you do
no,
it.
no. No, we do a
No?
lot of production boats. A lot of like our main business, like a super is one thing what we do, like a full custom
Yep.
big one. But then we do small production boats a lot, like Axopar and similar. So those are our designs.
And so is that the other company, Navia?
That's a Navia. That's a Navia who does these production boats. Yes. And
Okay.
and in
And so
those,
that's a scenario where a brand name will contract you to give them a design for their production
correct,
boats. You do
correct.
that for the smaller vessels, but not so much for the super yachts and bigger boats
Exactly.
like that. Cool. And so you say is that the bulk of your contracts is doing the smaller things like that?
That's our like main business. It's the main business is the small boats, but in that we are white label. So we try to keep our name out of things, and we just try to make a cool things what wins the competition, and that's what we do. And those are something like we design a little bit over 1,000 mold files a year, if that gives you a sense of the scale. So basically, so that's the amount of molds what go directly to CNC milling from our guys.
That's annually about 1,000 every
Yeah,
year.
yeah.
Wow. Well, that's pretty impressive actually when you stop and think about that's the number of different vessels that have been
And they
designed.
have to, exactly, and they have to everything has to be thought how they link together, how the cutting flanges are, how to put the bow thruster in, how to maintain the bow thruster. So we do a turnkey design services for I think 13 brands currently.
Wow, that's cool. And so obviously there's a reason why you have 100+ people working for you because there's no way you'd be able to do this all yourself. So that
Um,
brings up another question. Are you involved in every single project, at least at some extent, or do you trust your team to just kind of do what they need to do?
yeah,
How does that work for you?
so basically it goes so that in the early days, I'm almost always there when we are thinking the concept, when we are trying to find which kind of competition or which kind of category or how that is going to be different than others. I'm in that discussion. But then we have skilled people, and quite often the team is about, core team is 4 to 5 person per boat. That's
Okay.
the core number. And that there's one project lead who takes care of the thing, and he has a full time about 3, 4 guys helping him doing that. Naval architects, designers. We do the exterior interior for those other production files. But during the process, there will be about, I would say, maybe 25 people touching the design somehow. They might be from the making the renderings, they might be doing the graphics, they might be doing the sofa pillows, you name it. But there's
Right.
so there might be about 25 people touching one boat model.
Right. But so you're not necessarily involved in absolutely every project anymore. You
No,
said
no, no,
maybe
no, no.
early days
Yeah,
maybe, but not as much now.
exactly. So I know what is happening there, and I know the things, but in the same time, I would be just slowing down if I would
Yeah.
be lead for everything. I would be just the bottleneck of everything. So that doesn't make a sense.
So here's a question then. Do you have within that, say, 25 people or within that group designing one vessel, do you then assign someone as a project lead or
Yeah,
a project
yeah,
manager that sees this thing through from beginning to end?
yeah, correct. So basically, in that core team of let's say 4 to 5 people, one of those guys is going to act as a project lead, project manager who takes care of the whole thing. And that person can be a designer, it can be a naval architect, it can be coming from let's say office side, but the key is that there's one person who runs the whole thing, and it's something that it's quite often in a team that it's grown. Somebody wants to try that, and then we give that opportunity, and then the other people are supporting. We have a quite strong, like designers are working in office, they help each other, they try to support each other, and of course I will be there, but I'm not some kind of savior in there. So it's a guys themselves who are doing that, and it's a
Okay.
so it's a there's a different skills, different people, and I think it's a super good because we do multiple brands that there's a different feeling on different individuals, and we can always make a team that suits that client or that
That
project.
makes sense. Yeah, you have different skill sets within certain teams of people that suit a certain brand and the way they want their look and their design. Their
Exactly.
design. I don't
DNA.
know.
I think design
I don't.
DNA.
I think you know what I'm trying to say here is
Yeah,
that each designer has their own style, right?
exactly. Oh,
And some of those might suit a brand better.
but I think we can even do a little bit different analogy in there is that because if we think design as a skill, so if you are a skilled designer, the what kind of style you do is of course there's a little bit of you, but if you are skilled enough, you can design for brand. So basically, then you analyze the design DNA of that brand, and then you start executing that kind of design language in your design. And I think that's what we are trying to do. That basically we are not a designer that you hire to give certain kind of outlook. You are hiring us that we can give you certain level of professional quality in the system.
And help. So people hire you to have you help them bring their imagination and their ideas to
And
reality.
and also that we help them that they don't have to use, because if they need to make a new let's say new model or new brand extension, whatever they need to do is that they don't necessarily have the time and capacity for that. So that's why it's quite safe for them to have us, because we can do turnkey design services. So they can come and we have a problem or we have an issue, we need to be in that place in the market. Can you help us in that? And we have a tool, we have a system that can do it. So that's basically just an outsourcing problems to us.
Right. Okay. I had a question on my mind, but I wanted to let you finish talking about. Oh, right. So we were talking about having like automotive designers, and it is something I'm noticing in smaller, more pleasure craft vessels, that their look is shifting lately to a more of like a, I don't know how else to word it other than like a hot rod look or like that sleek. It doesn't. There's designs I'm seeing come out that don't look like a typical boat. They have a different shape and design to them now. And now talking to you that you employ a lot of people that come from that industry. It kind of makes sense that that's why I'm seeing the shift in the way vessels look. And
Yeah, no, and there's another topic is also that because the this might be odd, but I will say it anyways. It's when we do a new kind of market, we know what is beautiful in a classical way, but we also see that if you do the same thing, what somebody has done already beautiful before, it's quite difficult to sell. There's some kind of percentage are willing to, but then there's people who want to see some kind of change. They want to get something new. And this is also what we have to do, is that we have to push that envelope constantly, that we get that kind of new feeling, because then there's a reason to change. If you would do the same thing that has been done the last 40 years, there wouldn't be actually reason to change because you have the same thing already. So basically, that we can also think this as a commercial side, that if we start changing the design DNA, you can make other boats look old. And that makes reason why you have to change your boat, because you don't want to have any more the old boat. So we can be this aggressive on thinking as well. But of course, there's an aspect that some boats should be beautiful, just as an extremely interesting and nice. But then there's that kind of thing that we can have a much more progressive design, what is then getting a new kind of foothold, and it's easy to get in a place then. But not all of those succeed, but we have done quite many in our history that are basically pushing that boundary, what is considered good taste. what then first it's considered really old, and I'm not going to have that kind of boat. But when we see that happening like 5-10 years, then it's the new norm instead of oddity. And I think that's always interesting to see.
Right. And so speaking of new, let's shift into then technology and the new things that are coming out and what changes your design when it comes to newer technologies. And technology, when you're talking about something in like a super yacht sized vessel, there's a lot of different technology within something that big, from your electronics and the living space with even just simple like TVs and appliances and things like that, to um, automated systems throughout the vessel, and being able to hook up your entire vessel back to one central dashboard where you can control and monitor absolutely everything from bow to stern, to propulsion systems. And even on smaller vessels, we're seeing these newer vessels, smaller boats coming out where, the back deck, the gunnels fold out and fold down to open up a bigger deck space on the back, things like that. So is there somewhere or something that you see that you're excited about, or that you want to maybe touch on or talk about within the technology space, whatever that may be, and things
Oh
that you're
no,
dealing with?
I think it's all of things what you are mentioning is really interesting, and the things what we have to do, this is what we do. We have to follow the signals from the world, what are interesting for the end users. Then we have to turn them in concrete products. We try to put the new technology in the boats in the level that is beneficial, but in the same time, the thing is that you have to find the suppliers who actually make those things. So the current era is quite difficult because we have so much media happening that you hear so many things that should be okay already, but actually when you try to make it or build it, you don't have a supplier, so they are only conceptual things. And I think that's a balance what we have to find. I think what I'm mostly interested, or what we are doing, we are pushing a CFD, so the tools. You talk about the science and all the new kind of products. I think for us, the computing power, what we can use in design, has been doing many things, that we can do such a big changes in hull, and we can have such a better hulls that was in past. I'm like a big fan of old naval architects, and Natal Hereshoff is my absolute hero of things, that Wizard of Bristol. But what those guys did without computer is amazing. But now what we can do, because we have all the computing power, we can do all the CFD, we can simulate everything. And that has opened up totally new kind of area, that we can do such a big advances in the hull design. And that has been for me, that I would say the last 10 years, the biggest thing for me. Of course, it's not talked that much, but I think we have, in the step hulls, we have maybe, now I will be a little bit too marketing person, but I will say that we have maybe got about 30% of resistance lower in step hulls what it used to be. And we know how to do it. It's not like a fluke of accident, but we know what are the things what affect that. And the same for the displacement hulls and light displacement hull forms. And I think, and the next step is, of course, when the computing power continues, we can start doing even much more the dynamic behavior, how it goes in the waves and stuff like that. And that is like a biggest change for me, as if we talk in that kind of massive holistic level. And then, of course, foiling is interesting. We have been doing quite a lot of foiling things ourselves. And there's
Actually, seeing as how you brought it up real briefly here, just to sidetrack a little bit, when we were talking the other day, again, setting up this meeting, you were in the other office and you were showing me that little foil kayak. And so this is another thing that you guys are doing and designing, and it's not just
yeah.
you're going all the way from super yachts down to a kayak. And
Yeah.
it was really cool to see that little design where it was a hybrid of an electric driven propeller, but it was you charged the system by pedaling, and then
Actually rowing,
it had
actually
rowing, and it had hydrofoils to get it up and on and out of the water too. So um, you know, that's really cool to me. When you showed that to me, I was just like,
no,
wow.
it's like extremely interesting what you can do nowadays, and there's a lot of things what you can find in a history where the people have been trying to do those things, but they didn't. It was so difficult to test them because when we do foil assisted thing, like okay, we have a fruit number for the hull, what is like basically gives the speed of hull speed of the vessel. And then we have a Reynolds number, what gives the size of the foil or the scale, how to calculate the foil. It comes from the Reynolds number. And those have to match. And basically in a traditional tank testing, it was impossible to match those. You can match either one, but you can put a sailing boat and the foil in a scale because either some of those numbers doesn't match. You can make
Right.
one.
But now with the new computing technology, like you were talking
Exactly.
about, that's one of those things that allows you to do that you could
Exactly.
never do before.
Exactly, and then we have so good materials, so we can, like in our office, for example, we have a FEM tools where we can have a ply-by-ply carbon fiber optimization for structures, so we can analyze so detailed the things. And
Right.
like it just it opens up possibilities for companies like us what weren't available like 20, 30 years ago.
Yeah. So you brought it up again here, and another thing, materials. I mean, that's technology too. What's changing in technology that way, and the materials you use. Is there anything that you're seeing now coming out in the recent future or coming up in the future, in the foreseeable future, as far as materials that you are using, you plan to use, that you think are superior from older materials for different things? I'm sure it depends on the vessel, right?
Absolutely, it depending of the vessel, but also in the same time, we don't have a massive changes currently happening in a materials. There's constantly small evolution happening in there, but not anything like a revolution. So we constantly check, and I think we still, as if we talk about the production of normal boats, if you think the same as in a cars, they are still made from metal, but the metal might be a little bit different as 100 years ago. So it's the same, we are doing the GRP, but the GRP is not exactly the same what it used to be 50 years ago. And so that I think is the bigger thing. And then the overall weight optimization, because how to make boats go faster with the less consumption, the weight is a big thing. So how to save the weight in the boats, but still to be practical to build, have enough quality for the end users. And I think we are even more, basically current boats, what we do is out, let's for argument's sake, let's take one of the brands, Axopar. And Axopar boats, they go about 50 knots. I think the top is something like 60 knots, something like that. But if we take cycle back 30, 40 years, boat to go 60 knots, that would be basically impossible. Yes, we could do it, but it would be like like a talk of the town. That would
Yeah,
be,
yeah.
it would be
Yeah.
so bad. But currently the box standard boat, what we have, they go between 45 and 55 knots. And they are super safe in the water. Still they go super fast. So basically you could have a big accident. But compared of the speed what they go, and how easy they are. So the average speed in a cruising has went from that kind of sub 20, 17 to 21 to that kind of 25 to 35 knots. And then top speeds are someplace in the 55. And that big leap has happened now. And all the step hull development, and it's not only the top speed, but currently we are, or what I'm super excited is that we can design the hulls that are basically the same consumption for certain distance is going to be same between 17 and 40 knots. So depending of the sea state, you can drive different speed or hauling, but actually the burn rate of the fuel is so that it's the same consumption for that distance.
Yeah. Yeah,
And
just more efficiency and all of that.
exactly. When you start going faster, the efficiency is so much greater that the consumption doesn't really grow. So it's the same.
Right. And what about, so seeing as how we're on that topic of fuel efficiency and all of that, what's your take on electric driven vessels? I personally, they're quiet. Obviously, you don't have an engine running, that sort of thing. They have a tremendous amount of power, but it always comes down to battery and the ability to function. So you know more than I do. Is it in these yachts, is it kind of like a hybrid where you have a generator that generates the power for the
So
electric?
so basically in the bigger yachts, we quite often have diesel electric propulsion. So basically, instead of having shaft lines, we have electric boat driving the boat like AC pod or similar. And you generate the power by diesel engines, what are either in an AC or DC grid. We last was with the DC grid, so basically you have a variable speed Jennies, and then you have a battery bank. We had about a little bit less than 1 megawatt of batteries. And that battery bank, it's used for peak saving. It's a spinning reserve, so you don't have to have so many engines running in the same time. And then you can have a so-called area that you don't use at all combustion engines, but you can run the boat only with batteries. But in a bigger picture, you anyways generate all the electricity with your diesel engines. So the batteries are basically losing a little bit of that efficiency, but it gives you other benefits. And in a smaller boat, I think the biggest challenge is that the people don't really realize, okay, as a mental exercise, if we take an electric car and we put the batteries in a car and it weighs the double of the other car, but the rolling resistance doesn't really go up that much because it's rolling resistance, and the aerodynamic drag doesn't go anywhere because it's about the same size. So what actually happens is that the consumption in a flat doesn't change. So actually you can make a super efficient electric cars even they are heavier. If we take the same analogy in a boat, the problem is that the battery weighs quite a lot. And then the power density inside of the battery is quite low. So the thing is that you increase the weight quite a lot, and that increases the resistance, and that decreases the range. So basically we are currently in an area that before the battery banks are getting much better. You can do many things with the electric boats, but they are still quite difficult to make sustainable as a business case.
So that's kind of what I wanted. I wanted your take on it. Like, is it something you see as?
We have done a lot of like foiling electric boats. We have done electric boats, classical. We do that, but it's difficult to make it as a business. So that's why I'm trying to be always quite transparent in that side, because we don't have incentives as in a cars that the governments would be subsidizing the costs.
Right.
And we don't have the similar system in a boat, and the infrastructure is not that well adapted yet for charging the boats. And then there's another thing that actually the use hours for year are so little that is quite difficult to get the like that CO2 compensation back, what you need to use for the battery banks. So it's actually quite difficult topic. And for me, we are agnostic in that side. So we do electric boats, we do diesel.
You'll build whatever somebody hires you to build.
Exactly. And we try to explain, but in the same time, we try to be really transparent what it can do and what it can't. And that's
right.
I think for most of the people, the discussion might be quite difficult because it's so polarized that you want to say a strong opinion this way or that way, and it's a much more nuanced. But we have done a lot of like if somebody goes and see the Raven sailing boat, that's a quite extreme vessel with the hydrofoils, and it has a battery bank. We did our own generators in there, so it's a hybrid unit, highly advanced. And then we have been involved in a Candela, those foiling electric boats, and those are interesting. But in the same time, if you do something foiling and battery, you have to make it extremely lightweight to make it work. And then the scaling effect is difficult because the weight of the vessel goes in the third potence of the length. So the scale, so the weight goes in third potence of the scale of the vessel, and the foil size goes in the second potence. So it's quite difficult to make a big units working really well because the foil size starts growing out of proportion. And it's a little bit the same reason that why small boats can be done with electric and solar powered. But then if you would try to mimic that the same idea in a bigger, it's super difficult to make.
It changes significantly the bigger the vessel gets.
Exactly. Yeah. So those are just like just volume driven problems.
Yeah, and all of that, it totally makes sense to me. I just wanted to get kind of your opinion on it because you are in the business of designing, and I thought perhaps you might have had some information on what might be things of changing. But it sounds like it's exactly where I thought it would be. Is that the technology is just not quite there yet to adapt to something large like that.
So I would say that for boats, it's easier to compare to airplanes. So basically, when the technology is ready for airplane, it's ready for boats.
Right.
That would be roughly. Then it makes sense because it's
when your airplane runs out of battery power, you better find a landing strip pretty fast, right?
Yeah. No, that's a little bit. We have the same thing, but I think in a boating the distances are not that great. So quite many boats could run with the batteries because you don't do long trips. But is it cost environment wise decision? That's a different topic, and it's a broad topic.
Yeah, no, I get it. Okay, so I wanted to ask you this just to see if you know of anything that I'm unaware of. Is there anything new coming out to the world of propulsion that is exciting or something that you're entertaining more and more that is kind of new to the world?
I would for sure check what the ABB did with the Dynafin. So basically, it's a trochoidal propeller. So it's basically propeller that looks a little bit like a Voigt Schneider propeller, but the blade trajectory is trochoidal instead of sinusoidal. Really old inventions from the 100 years ago. A little bit more than that, and the open water efficiency is much more higher than classical screw propeller, and I think that's something like super interesting, like how if we can optimize each blade individually and we can rotate that, how that turns up as there's a concept called whale tail wheel in the past, but basically we can maybe take 15% more efficiency. Let's say 50, if we normal propeller, big propellers in the ships are like open water efficiency 60 something, and now we can go in 80 something. So
which is fairly impressive, actually. When anybody who knows anything about engineering, that much of efficiency growth or improvement that's huge. Like
That's a massive.
enormous.
That's a massive thing. So that would be one of those things what I would like people to check that. Okay, that, but it's a bigger scale, but it's something that it's a big thingy. And
So you're saying a bigger scale, like it's designed for larger vessels, but
yes,
it's not
correct. Yes.
in smaller vessels so much yet.
So that APP only do things for the like cruise vessel or let's say plus 100-meter boats.
Okay. Why is that? Is there a reason why it's not integrated into smaller vessels? Is it the engineering aspect of it and then and the
I
efficiency
think
changes?
no. I think it's just that that kind of that company doesn't work in our pleasure
Oh,
market.
okay.
So
Okay.
it's not in that company interest. The concept would work in our scale.
Smaller vessels. They just don't do anything smaller. That's it. Okay.
Exactly. So there might be some idea for somebody maybe.
Right. So, are you're working on obviously multiple projects right now. Is there a big one that your firm is working on at the moment?
I have a design like in a Superyacht side. I'm in charge of 1.5 billion US dollar worth of new builds. What I'm in
Wow.
charge. So
I don't know if we had talked about this in our previous phone conversation or our last call there. I mean, this whole podcast started because I wanted to get into the speaking to the people within this world, but it expanded into speaking to people like yourself because I come to realize that the yacht economy, um, it drives so much money from
yeah,
the design to the build to the sale to
and
everything in the lifespan of that vessel. The amount of money that it generates is mind blowing.
and for me the thing what I call Superyachts as a Robin Hood product. So basically, it gets from the top directly. It gets the money and
Yeah.
drops back to the basic. So it's a
I,
best.
I understood immediately when you said Robin Hood, because you're right. You're taking the money from the very wealthy, and from the moment that thing is designed, built, and sold, it will go on for however many years and
Exactly,
continue to put food on people's tables for years and years to come.
exactly. So for me, when somebody says that those are stupid, I don't understand at all. For me, that's like because there's almost no profit margin in a superyacht, less than 10%. So basically, they are not luxury products. They are just products. They
Yeah,
are they are just big things that cost a lot, and that money comes back to the system,
yeah,
100%.
yeah.
So
Um, yeah, it's part of why I do this podcast is because it is so
no.
it's
For
intriguing to me, like the various how and the very different people and different careers that people have attached to this world. You kind of being at the very beginning of the life of a vessel like this to, you know, all the way to I'm trying to get a group, a company on that they salvage.
yeah. No,
They salvage these vessels.
yeah. And I think that's the thing that it's and these are long things. Like the life cycle of superyachts is like massive. There happen so many things in that life cycle of that. There will be multiple owners. There will be a lot of
Right.
transactions, many refits. There's changes, a lot of things happening. So I think the for me the sustainability when we talk, for me it's a sustainability in business and what it brings. So the benefit of superyachts is giving money back to the system, and
Yeah.
that's all the other topics what we try to accommodate in that it's pointless. The green things, that kind of things, because
Yeah.
with that money what you invest, let's say that you try to make the superyacht a little bit more green, you put the 10 million to make the superyacht a little bit more green. The actual benefit in a kilos of CO2 is minimal. But if you would put the 10 million in a big factory, you would get the 1,000 times the investment back by CO2 emissions. So that's why it's stupid even to think that you would try to turn a green super yacht. That money should be used for those persons in other industries to make the industry more green, because then you get the benefit. Otherwise, it's just like otherwise it's just trying to polish your own skin. There's nothing. It's just the marketing.
Yeah. Jarkko, do you have any? Is there any one of your? Well, first, let me ask you this: what's the largest vessel that you've ever designed and been a part of building?
250 meters,
Wow.
something like that.
And that was another custom build as usual.
Oh no, that was a cruise vessel. That was a cruise vessel.
Okay.
And then we are working in that kind of close to 200-meter size.
So are you in that world too, in like building and designing cruise ships as well?
Yeah, we are hired gun. So
Again, anybody, just you tell us what you want and we'll build it for you.
yeah, that's a little bit the mentality. No, but we everything what is relating water, it's something what we feel passionate. And is it a commercial or is it a private or is it a super? Is it a shiny or not shiny? It's not that important for me.
A cruise ship is one hell of a mock-up in your yard, isn't it?
No, we haven't. Luckily, we haven't. We don't have to do that. No, the biggest mock-up what we have done is 70 meters, so 210 feet. That's a big what we have built.
That's a pretty big mock-up. So
for us and our office, that was a big doing already. So we were happy.
Okay, so I have to ask this question. Then we're almost kind of running to the end of it here, so I'll try to start wrapping things up here. But is there one vessel that you've been a part of designing and building that really stands out, that you're really proud of, that you know was something maybe you pushed the limits a little bit on it and it turned out great?
I would say the sailing boat named Raven 111 from Baltic Yachts. I would say that that's maybe the from design engineering aspect, that was we pushed the limit what we as a current understanding in materials and physics can do in a sailing boat, but is still a super yacht. So it's not, because it's not trying to be an America's Cup foiling boat, but it's still a super yacht that have to have a pleasure function and then the speed function. And I think that was a super interesting, and because that sailing boat that's about 110 feet, 111 foot long, and it can go plus 30 knots. So
I actually just pulled it up on the internet here, and I'm having a look at it right now.
Yeah, but that's a quite interesting vessel. So, and this is like it's a full interior exterior wise, the whole concept wise. That's pushing the envelope. What we could do, that was done a few years back, and basically to make that big foils, or it has the biggest full carbon keel done in there, and all aspects of that. We had to save about 50% of mass of similar normal full carbon sailing boat, so from about 90 tons to sub 50 tons. So that how to save that much weight in a super yacht. That was a big challenge, because it's not a racing boat. It's just an extremely fast super yacht.
It's an extremely fast pleasure vessel.
Exactly.
And it's beautiful, actually. When you're looking at the images here, it's a beautiful looking boat too.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah. Okay, so it's something I ask everybody that comes on here, and more of just a kind of a fun thing, and it's usually a two-part question about, you know, is there a vessel that you've been on or designed in your aspect? I kind of asked you which one, and we were talking about the Raven 111. But is there one that kind of holds a place in your heart, whether it was one as a kid that you spent some time on, or something that you had either designed or seen outside of your own designs that just kind of really stood out and really like this either holds a place in your memory or heart because of its emotional attachment or whatever? I mean, we did talk about the Raven here, but is there anything else that really kind of holds a place in your heart? And then the other part of the question um, is there a place or a location that you really, really enjoy sailing to or motoring to in anywhere in the world? And I'll leave it to you to answer that however you like.
Okay, so first of things, I would say that Naval did 2 catamarans, I think 1870 something. It was called Amaryllis and Tarantella. And those were the fastest man-made machines in that time. So, and that is, Natal Hereshoff is a big idol of me, and I try to follow really that kind of ideology that design, build, make new things. And he was working in different fields of industries, but he was pushing a lot. And so for me, Amaryllis, Tarantella are something that are really important for me as an guidance of thinking that nobody had catamarans in that time, and that person made it, and that's why they were banned from the sporting and everything for sailing, because they were too fast. And so those are the things. Then because of my profession, I have been sailing basically all the places in the world. So I have to say that I will take the place that where my grandpa had the cabin, Kallavesi, in the middle of Finland. So I think the Saimaa and Kallavesi in the middle of Finland is a fantastic, massive freshwater lake system, and so beautiful.
That's very cool. It's always interesting to me to hear everybody's opinions on this, and I didn't expect that from you, but I love hearing that answer, and that people are talking about these tropical places out in the big, beautiful blue Mediterranean waters, and Jarkko says I'd rather go to a little lake in Finland.
I have been in those. I like the other stuff.
Yeah, no, that's really cool. And so, Jarkko, thanks very much for your time here. Take a moment here right now. If somebody did want to contact you or your company to kind of, bring you on as a designer or whatever, where can people find you?
I think if you type something in the internet, we will come up. Yeah, so no, there will be some. I don't even know. I think it's the best that there might be some kind of addresses what you can find, and you will get in contact to us, I'm sure. So
okay.
So that's good. And basically I'm in a LinkedIn. That's the only social media what I have. So
Is LinkedIn.
Yeah, and I don't do any posts of myself, but I reply to private messages. So that much I do, but I'm not in part of Instagram. I have an Instagram page, but I never been in there. And then nothing in social media. And so
Does Aivan have a website?
Yeah, it has. It's aivan.com and navia.com or FI. I'm not sure. But they have it's aivan.com, and Navia has some kind of website, and Jämsén has some kind of website, but I'm not so familiar with those. I've been there, but
okay, so I think I typed this in. It's not avian. It's Avian.
Yes.
.com. Yeah, so AVAIN, not avian. That's not correct.
That's Aivan in Finnish is aivan.com or FI. But you will find it. It's going to be. If it's going to be in a YouTube, we will put this in a description, so you will find our website from there.
I will make sure to track down the appropriate websites. I'll put them in the description on the bottom of this interview here. Yeah, it was awesome talking to you, and I'm sure I could sit and talk to you for another hour. But you're obviously, I'm sure, a very busy guy. But I really do appreciate you spending some time and chatting with me here. And yeah, hopefully we can talk again soon in the future.
Jason, it was my pleasure. So thank you very much for giving me this time.
Awesome. All right. Well, again, thank you very much, and have a great day. Thanks for sailing with us. This has been Portside Perspectives.